Okay, guys, sorry, I was going and tuning this one up here. All right. This one, the next one we're going to go and review is the vintage V100. Blue Rose says, one of my favorites here, I've heard this one before, Notes of Blues and Floyd. Oh, thank you there, buddy. I greatly appreciate that. And I got to say, that's one of my favorites as well. And that's one that, it's another one of those ones. Took 40 takes, spliced together, and all that stuff. I think people need to be honest with their recording and all that stuff. And that's, I try and be as real with you guys as possible. But this one over here, one of the things that you guys heard me say before is that when it comes to the Strats, they don't feel great in my hands. My hands don't necessarily fit the Strat all that great. But a single cut guitar, the shorter scale length, I really like. And also, I don't have to fight with it as much as I do a Strat. And so, the thing I love about a Strat is the out of phase positions and the 2 and the 4 position. And there's a guy that ended up going and purchasing the acclaimed Greenie guitar that was owned by Peter Green, as well as Gary Moore. And then later he acquired it. I think he may have paid like $2 million for it. And it was somebody that was sitting over there going, I don't think this guy should be the guy that's owning the guitar. And that individual is Kurt Hammett from Metallica. But I saw an interview with him talking about the Greenie. He talked about all the things that he loves about a Strat. And he said the out of phase, sound. And he said, with this guitar, there's something really special that I'm able to do, in the middle position. Because the pickups are out of phase from a reverse magnet in the neck pickup. And so that's one of the things that makes that guitar really special. I think it's a 59 or maybe a 60. I'm not sure. You guys can fact check me on that. The original Greenie. And so that's the thing that's really special is the reverse magnet and also all the other aesthetics of the guitar. And I said to myself, I'm never buying a Greenie. I'm not going to spend that much on a guitar again. Blue Rose, good to see you there, buddy. But anyway, I ended up seeing that there's this company that a lot of people don't know about that is called Vintage. And this company, what they do is they take all the aspects of vintage guitars, and some they focus a lot in on, like on this one. This is the vintage V100, okay? And yeah, the brand name is Vintage. And what they do is they do relicking on the guitars and all that stuff that are just like the relicking of the guitars that they're modeling these after. And in fact, one of the things with this is with Peter Green's guitar, he ended up switching the tuners on it. So you have the old tuning holes. I don't know if you can really see it or not, but right underneath the tuning machines over here, there are holes over here where the old tuners, the screws would have gone in and all that stuff. They even mimic that as well. And so what they did is they made a version of the Greenie. They even have where the pick guard used to be, the hole that's drilled right there. They got that. They got the mismatched tuning knobs. The bridge and the tailpiece are relicked as well. The pickups aren't. Well, pickups are slightly relict, but not as much as the rest of the guitar. And that's something that really appealed to me as well. I said, what is the deal? What is the deal with relic guitars? Why is it that they're so much more expensive? Is there something that's special about that? Because people actually pay to have them relic and all that stuff. What's the real reason in this? And so as soon as this came in, I think I got it for $900. Bought it on Amazon for $900. And as soon as I got it, I said, it's a really nice feeling guitar. Let's put it in that middle position. You get that quackiness out of the middle position. Great feeling guitar. Again, you can get one of these for $900. The thing I can tell you is that it doesn't feel as good as the Gibson. Okay, it does feel like a higher end Epiphone. It definitely does. And one of the things that is a selling point with this guitar is all of the hardware within it is made by Wilkinson. It's got the Wilkinson tuners that are also relict on here. It's got the Wilkinson pickups that are made to be out of phase. It's got the Wilkinson bridge and trem. So there's good stuff in here. The one thing I could say is that Wilkinson does make good mid-range stuff. Okay? There's no denying that. And some of their mid-range stuff, I would say, is just as good as the expensive stuff. Most notably, like their tuners. Really good. And so, Vintage is basically a subsidiary of Wilkinson. I'm getting a lot of buzz here. I'm trying to mitigate that as much as possible here. But yeah, so there's stuff that, is really good mid-range stuff that is a part of this guitar at a mid-range sound price point. And the thing is, they could have made this guitar maybe a little bit cheaper by going and using some of the crappy China stuff or some of the stuff that they have in Indonesia. Much the same appointments as the Wolfgang that we reviewed before. Okay? The one issue that I have with this guitar is that, unlike my Gibson, these pickups are not very chunky sounding. Okay? They are not really full range pickups. I kind of say that these pickups sound a lot like a Super Strat. Okay? And can be a little nasally. you want to play some guitar? Yeah, you know, so, I mean, good sounding pickups, but they are not of the same caliber as the Gibson. Now let's go and do what we did on the Gibson and roll down the tone knobs all the way down. It takes out some of the volume there, I noticed. See, with that, you are very much in a muddy territory there, to where it almost becomes like ambient slush. That's one of the big problems with this guitar. And I would say that it is the only problem with this guitar. The relicking feels great. It feels worn in. It's at a price point as well where you're not going to worry about, beating it up and all that other stuff. But the thing that I would say is, this is a mod that I'm looking to do on this guitar at some point, is to replace the pickups and all of the wiring, the pots, put in some orange capacitors and all that stuff. What I want to do is to get the greeny pickups, the greeny buckers that Gibson sells. I think they cost around $300. At some point, what I'm going to do is get the greeny buckers put in here with the wiring harness that goes along with that, and also the wiring for the switch as well. Because the thing that a lot of people don't realize is they think that in terms of versatility and all that stuff, it's all about the pickups. No. It also has to do with your capacitors. It also has to do with your pots as well. Chances are, I have not taken this thing apart, but I can tell that these are dime-sized pots in this thing. These are not 500K pots. You're not getting the orange drop capacitors or any of that stuff in this guitar. It's not there. Okay? And that right there, as well as the gauge of the wiring that goes from not just the pickups, but to your pots and to your toggle switch as well, are going to make a huge difference in terms of tone. So ultimately, I'd say, with this, if you got everything turned all the way up, and I'm not going to turn everything up, I'm just going to do it to where I can still remain clean, but I am going to turn all of my tone knobs up. If you want that Strat-like sound, you can get that out of this guitar. If you don't want to play a Strat and you want something that's more of the scale length and the neck width that is similar to that of a Les Paul, this neck is not anywhere near as wide as my Les Paul in terms of, how wide the neck is. It's not, but it's compatible. It's compatible. I'll just say that. So, if you're like me, and it's like, man, I really don't want to play a Strat, this is a good alternative. The issue is, don't expect to get those greeny tones where you have that beefy, though, neck position. It is slightly more beefy. But not by much. Not by much at all. A lot of the modern guitars that are out there today, they're going to use a form of, a compressed style pickup that is going to cause that to be, beefed up a little bit more than, say, a 54 or something like that. Now, this may be, the sound out of this may indeed be the sound of the thin sounding guitar, you know, the pickups that is within the greenie. But I don't think so. I don't think so. Some people have said that they are very close, but I don't think that's the case because the sound is not beefy. And that's something that I tend to look at. This is it has a very nasally sound, and I'm telling you, the neck on this is not really in my wheelhouse. I mean, it's a little nasally. And the thing is, like I said, Wilkinson makes some good stuff. But these pickups and these pots in this guitar is the one downfall. Is the one downfall of this guitar. But it's something that I still think can be something that's easily fixed. But once you go and you do that, however, because you're going to be spending about $300 on some greenie buckers, and then you're probably going to end up going and paying about $50 for the pots, capacitors, all that stuff. At that point, you should have gone with the Epiphone version of the greenie. I don't know. But you know what? To a lot of people, the name on the headstock really counts. To me, it really doesn't, in all honesty. But I think with some mods and all that stuff, considering that I've already sunk $900 into this guitar, and I love this guitar. I love this guitar. It's probably my number 3. Okay? It's probably my number 3. But I'm saying to myself, there are things that could be better with this guitar. And there are things that can actually be done without any sort of major routing or anything of the sort to get it to that playing point. And, you know, that may be an interesting little thing to do here soon.